Okay, fam, welcome back. So we're going over the grayscale trust today and how there is, it seems to be a slight pullback based on the market just being kind of really choppy. So, yeah, with that being said, let's get it. All right, so crypto is kind of Bitcoin has pulled back again. I kind of expected that at the top of basically once we got the break in structure on Bitcoin, I was actually kind of expecting a pullback. Doesn't really come as a surprise to me. Do I think it means Bitcoin is going to sell off massively? No, I don't think so. I mean, again, it could just pull back to the bottom of this support zone at 60,000 and then start pushing to the upside. I think that's much higher, likelier scenario than for it to come all the way back down to the bottom of the wedge. In terms of the indices, you can see here, oil has gone absolutely stupid. It's up 5% of the day. Again, that is because the overseas conflict unfortunately hasn't come to a stop, and in my opinion it's probably not going to come to a stop until Trump gets elected this year, although the countries might call it off and call it quits early if they suspect that there is a very high likelihood that he'll get into office, because my guess is there's probably going to be consequences for them if they don't stop before he gets in. So but more or less the indices, mostly just choppy, not really doing much of anything, kind of up and down and all around. Again, I think they're waiting for more news catalysts later this week, which I'll probably show you guys that right now before we actually get into the content. They did, let's see, today I believe they did have some pretty important stuff. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, so they had initial jobless claims. I mean, that came in pretty much like maybe a little over expectations. I don't really see that as being super bearish. Continuing job claims jobless claims didn't really do much of anything. So yeah, kind of mostly just a flat day. I mean, there wasn't really a whole lot going on today. So more Fed talk, of course, because the Feds always do that unless they're in their blackout period. All right, so I think the important things are going to be tomorrow, which is going to be the non-farm payroll. That's going to be a big one. And also the U.S. unemployment rate. Again, I'm expecting the unemployment rate to remain relatively flat, especially with the whole dock strike situation going on right now. I do think that the dock strike situation will be resolved soon. I think what's likely going to happen is, instead of the ports getting backed up, what the ships are going to do is they're going to end up diverting their their shipments from the southern border of the United States, kind of that southeast coast, all the way over to the west coast, because again, they have ports all across the entire coast of the country. That's probably also the same with pretty much every other country in the world. So yeah, I mean, they got to do business. They can't leave their stuff sitting out there on the water, and they got to get it somewhere where it can get distributed, because again, this is, it's not just like product that could potentially go to waste. It's also money. So, these businesses, the ports and these overseas shippers, they do business. People want to get paid, and it would be kind of stupid for these companies at the ports to basically say, yeah, we're just going to leave all the stuff out there on the water. And, again, I don't know how the payment structure goes, but assuming that they get paid beforehand, before the shipments are actually made, that would be stupid, because then again, the companies are not going to want to do business with them going forward. So that's bad for business. But on the flip side, if they don't get paid until after the shipments get delivered and accepted into the country, then they're not going to get paid at all. So the companies, that is. So either way, it's bad for business, and it's bad for consumers and all that stuff. So yeah, still kind of expecting markets maybe to be a little wobbly until probably, or not wobbly, but up, down, kind of sideways mostly, until probably somewhere between the 10th to the 15th of this month. Okay, so LTCN, we're sitting pretty much here right at support. Again, that's 13 to 15. This thing has pretty much just gone sideways. Again, we had a little pop and a drop, kind of similar to Bitcoin, but again, it's mostly just gone sideways. It hasn't really gone up or down, so no reason to fret there, in my opinion. 25 to 27, that resistance zone 55 at that swing high. So it's literally sitting at the bottom of the green zone. I mean, you guys can do what you want to with that. 105% and a 320% move. BCHG, this thing has, yeah, I mean, it's come back down below the white line, but again, the white line has, yeah, it's kind of interesting. This is the ultimate macro level here. I suppose maybe if I went like this, just kind of have to adjust it. Maybe it'll line up. More something like this would make sense. So yeah, I guess that probably actually makes a lot more sense. So this would basically be the beginning of the run back in June of last year. So if I do it like that, then we've actually held this thing the entire time. So it's sitting as support. Again, there's possible inverse head and shoulders pattern here going on, which is bullish. There's a little gap here that needs to be filled. So 540 to about 580 at the support. Resistance here roughly about 1020 to 1260. And then you have, I'd say, about 18 to 20 and then 24 respectively. So BCHG has quite a few levels to go through. But again, I mean, this is crypto. This could literally just smash right through these resistance zones like they don't even exist. So 130%, 260, and 330 respectively. And something to keep in mind about the whole October thing. October, November, December being bullish for crypto, it is historically 100% accurate. But you guys got to understand, it doesn't necessarily mean that every single day is going to be green. It also doesn't mean that it has to start out green. Okay. So we could have a little bit of choppiness going into the middle, kind of the end of the month, and then boom, start popping off once we get closer towards November. That could always happen. It kind of depends on what goes on, but I'm still expecting October to be a green month for crypto. So HZEN 350 to 420. Again, we're sitting at that support. It's mostly just gone sideways basically since June. So you got $7 to $8 at resistance, and then 10.5 up there at the top of the wedge. 134% and 203% respectively. ETCG, so we got this descending triangle pattern. I'm not sure if it's going to bust to the upside or to the downside out of this. We'll just have to wait and see, but the kind of support area right now is 750. So potentially anywhere between 750 to 10, I would say, is a good area to buy. So 1340, 1560, 1750, and 20, those are your levels right there. Just measuring this out, we're looking at as much as 104 and 165%. ETH, this thing, once again, mostly just sideways. There's a gap up here that needs to be filled. The white line is support, so 1830. And then you have roughly about 23 to 2850. And then the cup and handle target here at 47, 48, somewhere in there. You can see this big, massive cup and handle. These are actually pretty rare patterns that show up. Cup and handles or inverse cup and handles are not very common. 51%. 153%, which is part of the reason why I'm actually expecting this to play out exactly as a cup and handle pattern would. Again, I can show you guys a couple other instances. So we actually do have a cup and handle here on Bitcoin. So I forgot to mention this in the previous video on Bitcoin. This is not just a falling channel or a bull flag or a broadening falling wedge, which is all bullish. It's also a cup and handle pattern. Which is that would have an extremely high target for Bitcoin. The other thing I did want to show you guys as well is if I go over here to gold, this is actually technically not really supposed to be part of this video, but I'm going to show you guys anyways. Huge cup and handle pattern. You see it? Cup, handle right here, and then boom, this thing took off like a rocket. So this is kind of what it should look like when ETH and Bitcoin break out to the upside. Okay, so giving you guys the measurements here, we're looking at roughly about 58% and as much as 164% respectively. Okay, going down to GBAT, this thing is still mostly just going sideways. Again, I think we're waiting for that bullish seasonality to kick in this year, this month, next month, and December, and probably even going out to, like, I'd say the first 3, 4, 5 months of next year. So support here, I'd say about 450 to 510. Resistance 760 to about $10, and then the highs up here at 32. Okay, so measured moves here, 159%, and then roughly about 720%. Fill G. So support down here, 37 to 42. Again, this one's been going mostly sideways since June, kind of similar to pretty much all of the rest of these. So the all-time high up there is, I'd say, roughly about $400 is probably what it is. You're looking at about 930% gain. Okay, GLIV, again, mostly sideways. So support here is 1230 to 1470, and then also $80 at the all-time high. And another thing I want to point out, so 450%. Another thing I want to point out about these things, mostly just kind of bottoming out and going sideways, is at the bottom of a move. That usually is a very strong indication that this thing is bottomed out. And I'm actually going to show you a good example of this right now. I'm willing to bet that I probably could find this on Solana, because Solana has already taken off massively to the upside. You can see Solana actually almost has kind of like a cup and handle pattern here as well, which is interesting. But yeah, so anyways, you can see basically this entire area here was an accumulation at the bottom. This was kind of chopping sideways at the bottom of a move, and then boom, it took off like a rocket to the upside. So that's kind of what I'm seeing in a lot of these trusts that we're looking at today, is they're kind of just chopping sideways at the bottom of a move, which again usually is pretty bullish. Okay, so G-Link 39 to 45 is support, resistance 67 to about 85. The all-time high is at 220. So again, if it gets back into the green box, that's kind of the best case scenario in terms of buyers' advantage, seller's advantage. They'd be looking for it to be in the red box here. So 106%, 435%. Of course, that's just for short-term traders or swing traders. I mean, if you're looking for a bigger, longer move, like a year or two out, then of course you're a hodler, right? You're in it for the long term and you want to make those 10, 20, 50x gains. I totally get it. Trust me. So 300 to 350. And then 580 is at that all-time high up there, which again, I do think GSOL is going to make a new all-time high, 95%. GXLM, so we got back down to the white line. Again, that's a buy zone. So below that would be $5 to 1130. I don't know that it goes back to that green zone. Again, we never broke it down here, but we'll just have to wait and see on that. So kind of your buy areas here for this one is $14.50, roughly about $20 and $24 respectively. Targets up here at 53, 58, and roughly about 70. And again, keep in mind, these are just short-term targets. We're not talking about like the blow-off top for crypto. So 300%, 368% respectively. Mana. And I will say this about the markets pulling back right now. This may be one of the last dip buying opportunities that you're going to get to buy at these cheap prices. I'm just going to say it. I can't guarantee it, but usually Bitcoin and crypto starts ripping to the moon roughly within about 2 to 6 weeks from now. Usually is what happens. So yeah, I mean, the clock is ticking, the window's closing. You guys can do what you want to with that. Of course, I can't guarantee that's the case, but that is what history supports. So 1050 support here for Mana. The first target $17.60 to $20, and then the all-time high up here at 70. So the two measure moves, 77% and 512% respectively. Zcash mostly just kind of sideways at the bottom of a move. Again, that's very bullish. I see this mostly as accumulations. So $3.25 to $5, and then you have for your targets here $8, $9.70 and $10.25. If you wish to hold longer than that, then that's fine, not a problem. So 52%, 190%, and roughly about 215% respectively. Anyways, hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.